Billionaires plan their exits long before anyone sees a reason to leave.
Every serious investment begins with an exit strategy. And exits are not reactions, but planned phases. Preparation creates control.
Today we discuss strategic withdrawal. Look here at the projected movements into Eastern Europe and Turkey. This repositioning is key to the overall strategy.
Look at these growth periods. This is exactly when exit planning needs to begin, right here.
Optimism is when preparation is strongest.
Now let's move into financial exits. There are several strategies to consider, including going public with an IPO.
It's important to remember that these partial sell-offs begin very quietly, often before anyone notices the trend. Diversification often signals preparation.
Our strategy for liquidity building focuses on three key pillars: optimizing reserves, diversifying funding sources, and efficient asset management. Connecting liquidity to flexibility is essential. The more liquid assets you have, the more flexible your strategy can be.
This transition is what debt restructuring is all about. Taking an unstable situation and moving towards a clear, reorganized financial structure.
Today we're focusing on how refinancing allows us to achieve early repositioning, moving us from the current state to the future.
Now that we've covered the basics, let's transition into the main challenge, navigating partnership exits. This requires careful planning from the outset.
As we initiate the gradual reduction of shared ventures, we transition from Partnership A into Joint Project B, ultimately moving fully to Collaboration C. As we begin, focus on the interconnectedness of this process. Succession planning isn't a one-time event.
We need to look years ahead. It starts with identifying potential, moves into structured mentorship programs, and culminates in focused leadership development.
As you can see on the graph, this period of visible stability is merely hiding the significant future change that we must prepare for now.
As we transition into these narrative exits, we have to look at how the old stories begin to fragment.
The data clearly illustrates how public perception slowly shifts tone. We track this movement across these.
As you can see on the map, the primary areas for these geographic exits are concentrated in Europe, the Middle East, and Africa.
As we discuss capital relocation across jurisdictions, we must address regulatory compliance. This significantly impacts.
Legal flexibility supports exit freedom.
As we shift our focus to the factory floor, you can see this incredible machinery in motion. The rotation of these automated systems is revolutionizing the sector.
As you can see from the chart, we are actively reducing our exposure to these saturated industrial sectors, moving away from oil and heavy manufacturing.
Quiet reinvestment signals departure.
Focusing on the containment strategy, we must address the factors driving the shift from acceptable green levels to the high-risk orange and red zones.
As you can see by this trend, we emphasize limiting the downside exposure before making the final decision to exit fully.
Exits protect accumulated gains.
Time is our most valuable asset. As you can see, every second counts. As you can see, the optimal exit point happens well before peak excitement begins to fade. We initiate the exit right here.
Headlines usually arrive after exits complete.
Transitioning now to the core of our discussion, emotional discipline. This is perhaps the most vital skill you can develop. Detachment isn't indifference. It's the strategic clarity to ignore the noise of public opinion and focus solely on the mission. Patience prevents rushed decisions.
That summarizes the major trends we're tracking. I'll pause here and give you a moment to digest this information.
If we look closely at these subtle decline indicators, particularly the red trend line, we see a worrying acceleration that demands our immediate attention.
It's crucial to understand that small changes, implemented consistently over time, truly compound into significant results. This brings us to the core of our strategy: capital protection. Our tools are designed to safeguard your assets, while the crucial step is the transfer into these stable vehicles. This approach ensures low volatility and provides consistent returns for the portfolio.
As you can see on the flowchart, the green path represents our current standing. Now, using these steps in orange,
we need to focus our efforts here on the sharp decline, ensuring that we are effectively reducing visibility before the exit. Lower exposure reduces backlash. This brings us to the pivotal concept of operational simplification. By streamlining these processes, we unlock significant potential for growth. To maximize value before the sale, we must focus on streamlining these departments, leading directly to consolidation. This demonstrates clearly that simplicity increases valuation, showing a jump to 32% when we keep things simple.
So how do we effectively transition from initial contact to a solidified deal? It all starts right here.
Looking at the data here, the key is understanding the market signals. Strategic preparation directly correlates with the spike in acquisition valuations we see here.
Perception directly influences pricing, creating this continuous cycle we see here. We had some very productive private discussions earlier this morning. Now, if we move forward, I have a few important announcements to share with you.
Let me be clear on this point. True certainty must exist internally, long before anything is released to the public domain. If you try to exit abruptly, you risk devaluation. But with careful planning and phased selling,
this data clearly demonstrates that a gradual exit strategy is essential to avoid panic.
Now, shifting gears, we need to address reputation management. As you can see, it involves understanding both the digital landscape and public perception.
Departure doesn't have to mean the end of your influence. It's about ensuring your legacy is protected.
I want to clarify this point. Image sustains influence, especially in a connected world. Transitioning now to reinvestment planning. If we look at the projections, optimizing our approach here will drive this growth trajectory significantly upward over the next quarter. We are analyzing the current cycle to strategically position our capital. The focus is on these investment opportunities.
While the current exit funds show a downward trend, this clarifies our strategy, positioning us perfectly for future entry and significant growth. Crisis presents challenges, absolutely. But within every challenge lies the opportunity for significant advantage if we know where to look.
Exits completed early allow re-entry during downturns.
Which leads me to the critical point about public misunderstanding. The way we communicate this determines our collective future. This steep red line illustrates exactly why exits look sudden. The collapse happens incredibly fast, right here at the end of the cycle. Nothing is sudden internally.
And how do we move forward in this complex environment? The answer lies in what I call structural foresight. So what does this mean? Trend fatigue signals maturity. We see this consistently across various market cycles shown here.
This data clarifies that saturation is a direct predictor of your exit timing, as shown by the flattening of this curve.
Let's dive into economic cycle awareness. The cycle moves predictably through expansion, hits a peak, and then enters a contraction phase towards the trough.
Understanding these economic cycles is critical because, as history shows us, cycles always reverse. This reversal is inevitable.
We need to ensure our exits align directly with these market cycle peaks to maximize the return on investment. When we look at risk asymmetry, we must compare the potential loss, indicated here in red, with the potential gain in green. The difference is clear. We implement strategies to minimize the downside risk here, allowing us to maximize the significant upside potential elsewhere.
This cyclical process, the rotation of capital from investment to returns and back again, is precisely what sustains long-term growth.
This brings us to the core of private advisory networks. When optimized, these connections facilitate unparalleled data flow and expertise sharing. We analyze the private consulting data first. This gives us a significant lead time, often months, before that data transitions into the public domain. Information asymmetry supports smooth exits.
We're following breaking news out of the Capitol this evening. Details are still scarce, but we will bring you updates as they become available.
The biggest hurdle is right here, the ego. But if we separate our emotions from the data, your exit strategy success rate drastically improves.
As you can see here, pride delays action. It is the single biggest factor holding us back from achieving our goals.
So remember, execution is everything. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing the results.
Our approach ensures that these transfer agreements are executed quietly, minimizing disruption and ensuring a...
Before we begin, let me clarify that today's announcements are purely formalities.
The future depends on what we do today. Thank you. So how do we successfully transition out of these daily roles? It starts by empowering your team and trusting the processes you've put in place.
And this brings me to the core point. Even when we analyze complex networks like this, we see clearly that the influence...
Transitioning now to the core of our discussion, long-term security. This is paramount in today's evolving threat landscape. While these markets offer significant gains, the smart strategy is converting that volatility into stable assets, ensuring long-term growth and security.
It might seem counterintuitive, but we must understand that security is not the opposite of liberty. In fact, security ensures freedom.
Thank you all for being here. Now that we've covered the overview, let's dive deeper into the data.
When we look at emerging sectors, the data suggests that the most successful approaches are often the quietest ones. So remember this key takeaway: reinvention follows exit. You cannot have one without the other in today's market.
To achieve true strategic invisibility, the energy field must completely envelop the subject like this.
As you can see on the slide, the goal is to shrink these footprints. We've implemented strategies that show real results in reduction. Invisibility protects flexibility. And to truly innovate, we must transition our approach. This brings me to the core concept, multi-cycle thinking. Long horizons reduce urgency.
Now let's transition into the mechanisms of risk redistribution shown here. We need to analyze how market risk and credit risk correlate across our portfolio. Spreading the exposure across these structures allows us to optimize the distribution and significantly enhance our risk mitigation strategies. So as we look ahead, I want to share some final reflections on the journey we've taken and what it means for the future of this project.
Exits are acts of discipline. And this is the key takeaway. Discipline will always outperform emotion. The data proves it. Discipline rises steadily while emotion is unstable.
Let's move into the business summary. As these graphs illustrate, the data strongly supports our strategy moving into the next quarter.
When we look at cause and effect, the deciding factor is timing. Ultimately, timing determines the outcome.
So let's get straight into the most important part, your key takeaways. These are the insights you'll want to implement right away.
Planning your exit strategy early involves several key steps: identifying risks, developing contingencies, and communicating the plan effectively.
Exit planning increases confidence.
This brings me to the critical topic of risk awareness. As the pace of change accelerates, so do the potential threats. We must be prepared.
This sharp decline here illustrates exactly what happens when growth stalls. We need to recognize these indicators much sooner in the cycle.
Awareness prevents attachment.
This brings us to the crucial element, mental positioning. As you can see visualized here, it's about how we structure our thoughts to optimize performance.
We must separate identity from assets. Identity is who you are, but assets are what you own, and the link between them must be secure and fluid.
Flexibility is absolutely crucial. It is the only way that we can truly preserve wealth in this volatile market.
Now, let's look at the final concept. This is where we bring it all together to maximize efficiency across the board.
Exits create new beginnings.
And this is crucial. Stagnation does not just slow us down, it actively destroys value within our organizations. Movement is strategic. It's not just about going somewhere, it's about the timing and the purpose of every step we take forward. As you can see, control truly defines success in this environment. Without it, we cannot achieve our goals.
Let's move on to the final reminder shown here. This is important. The deadline is fast approaching, so please take note.
As this chart illustrates, completed exits, represented here in green, consistently lead to the headlines you see in the media, shown here in yellow.
Everything changes the moment you understand this concept. This is the ultimate lesson that will redefine your potential.
The first principle of building lasting prosperity is simple. Wealth must be protected before it can be grown.
As you can see, and this is crucial, foresight absolutely beats speed every single time. Speed is irrelevant without direction. As we look to the future, the connections we've built here today will define the path forward. Thank you.
The key takeaway is this: the exit remains invisible until the moment it is complete. What we've achieved here is true intentional invisibility, a breakthrough in optical manipulation.
This brings us to the final synthesis. By connecting the data points, the path forward becomes clear. We are ready to implement the strategy.
True power isn't found in staying forever, it's found in understanding the leverage of your exit. Because power includes knowing when to leave.
And this is the crucial point I want you to take away today. Leaving early is not a sign of failure. It is strength.
That concludes our presentation. Thank you all for your time and attention today.
The leader treed never rush. The prepared never rush.
Discipline defines billionaires.
The new policies are expected to take effect immediately. We will continue to follow this story as it develops.
By the time the world notices an exit, the next move has already begun.